Hi, I'm glad you're here. This is Jaron from Meeedly, the world's best business-to-business meeting scheduling tool. I will be your host, guiding you through a series of advanced programming concepts simplified for easy learning and practical use. Let's jump right into it. This video is a part of a series where we explore React.js from the ground up. If you're a software engineer joining Meeedly, this video series will introduce you to the core development practices we follow. You'll learn how to structure and organize your React.js project from the ground up, apply consistent naming conventions, and use real-life React functions by building a counter app, covering everything from React fundamentals to advanced API integrations. React.js is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces. Instead of manipulating the browser's DOM, which is the document object model directly, React lets you build UI using components, which are small reusable pieces of code that describe how a part of a screen should look and behave. With something changes, like a button click or a form input, React automatically updates the right parts of the page using something called a virtual DOM, which makes things fast and efficient. React is popular because it is easy to break things into components, fast, where it only needs to update what is needed, and widely used in a huge ecosystem, with some examples being Next.js and React Native. We will use VSCode for writing our code. It's a free and easy to use editor that's perfect for React.js projects. Some prerequisites before starting this project are that you have had Node properly installed to use React. We have a complete series of Node.js available on our YouTube channel already if you need assistance with that. The link to it is in our description if you would like to learn more about Node.js in general or the setup for such. To confirm that it has been installed correctly, we will be typing in the command node-v and also npm-v. If both of these have successfully shown up to your screen, congratulations! You have downloaded Node properly. Now we can move on to the next part. We will be using create React app for the fastest zero config start. First, go to your terminal and type in the following: npx create React app React Meeedly guide. This will start the process of creating your app. Make sure to install the following packages that it will require, and it will start the process of installation. I will be right back when it finishes downloading. Now that it is finished downloading, you will go to VS Code and open up the folder like I have done. What we first want to do is go to our terminal and type npm-i, as this will make sure that you have downloaded all the dependencies that you will need. After that, we will be using the command npm start. This will open up a dev server with hot reload. Wait a few seconds and your project should show up. This is how your page should look like. If all of this works with no difficulties, then you have correctly created your first React app. Congratulations! Now before we start creating our folder structure, let's first clean up some of our React tab. First, let's go into our src and we're going to be deleting a few files. First, let's delete app.css. We will also be deleting app.test.js. We will be deleting logo.svg. And finally, we will be deleting setuptest.js. The reason why is just because these are just defaults for a React app and they will not be needed. Now let's also adjust our app.js so that it is a simple hello React for now. We will be removing the imports as they have just been deleted. We will also be deleting everything inside the div. and we will also be deleting the class name. Now, all we're going to do is put a simple hello React in here. Click save. And now it should just be hello React in our localhost. We'll start from a blank slate so that every line is ours. Now let's start setting up our project folder structure. First, let's create a folder in our SRC called asset. The asset folder will be where our static resources such as images, logos, and icons used throughout the application will be stored. Then we will be creating 3 other folders below our asset folder. We will create a logo folder, which is specific for logos, images, or related assets. We will be creating a SVG folder for raw or reusable SVG files. And finally, a folder called SVG icons for custom or packaged SVG icon components. Next up, we will be going back to our SRC to create another folder called components, which is right here. The purpose of our components folder is to have a place where we can put reusable UI components that are going to be used across different views or pages. In our components folder, we will create 2 folders called footer and navigation. These will contain files relating to our navbar component and footer that we will create later. Inside each of these folders, we will create a file called footer.js and navigation.js. When we look at them, they currently have no actual code in them, but we will fill it in when we implement the actual component later. We will now be creating a folder in our SRC called routes. Our routes folder will be used as a place where our route definitions and logic for navigating between pages will be centralized. First, let's create a file inside there called mainroute.js, which later will be the main file where routes are declared and components are mapped to paths. Next, let's create our scripts folder. The purpose of this is to have a place where scripts or custom logic that doesn't fit into components, views, or utilities will go. This can include data fetching logic, setup scripts, or configuration files. In this folder, we will create another folder called Home. In the Home folder, let's create a file called commonhomeutils.js, which is where our script for saving specific information in the counter will be. Our next folder in the SRC will be named Style. The purpose of this is to store CSS files for styling the component and views. We will be creating 4 folders. They will be called Components, Home, About, and Settings. In the Components folder, we will be creating 2 more folders. One for our footer and one for our navigation. In each of these folders, we will create a CSS file called footer.css and navigation.css. In the About, Home, and Settings folder, we will also be creating CSS files in them. About.css, Home.css, and Settings.css. Finally, we will be creating 4 more CSS files in the Style folder called desktop.css, main.css, mobile.css, and tablet.css. These are to help if we have different resolutions on our screens. So overall, it should look like this. Now let's create a folder called Utilities in the SRC. The purpose of this folder will be to hold helper functions, constants, hooks, or any other utility files that support the application but are not tied to any one component view. Inside, we will be creating a JavaScript file called dateformat.js. This will be specifically used to format the time we will save later. Finally, let's create a folder called View in the SRC. The purpose of this is to represent the main pages or screens of the app. In this folder, let's create 4 more folders. They will be called About, Error 404, Home, and Settings. Each of these folders are going to be used for one page of our application. Inside these folders, we will be creating a JavaScript file respective of each folder. We will name them about.js, error404.js, home.js, and finally settings.js. Each file corresponds to a different page of the application. After we have finished creating these files, we have completed creating the whole project folder structure that Meeedly mainly uses. And that's it! To sum up what we have covered in this video, we have learned a little introduction about what React.js is and why it's widely used. Created a React application called React Meeedly Guide, where we will be going through the project. And finally, set up the project folder structure that you will be using at Meeedly. In the following videos, we will be working with the folders and files we have created to start the creation of our counter and our About page. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.